Listen to you live on 24 Staff 13 Charleston, Georgetown. This is Kaieteur Radio 99.
I don't remember who said that, but that person understand human beings. You know, you can handle traitors. You know, you can handle hustlers from inside, but you can't handle traitors from inside. How do you deal with that? I love it. Today, Uncle, we reported 2 Kanu officers confessed to ripping off a Surinamese diamond dealer. One of them tell the police he sell his share, and the other one swallow his share of diamonds. Oh boy, one of them swallow the diamonds, yes, and the other one sell his share. The one that swallowed diamonds, Uncle, the police had to give him castor oil or Senapad, and he passed it out of the hospital. That's how he get catch. I don't know if it has enough Senapads or castor oil to give some of our leaders to flush out the kanji and Kaieteur oil blocks out of them. There is a saying, a fish rots from the head. When the head is rotten, the whole body is of no use. This is what Guyana has long become. How do we change this, Joshua? Huh? You got a clue? How do we change this, Uncle? How long more will we continue to live in a place where everywhere you turn, you smell, you taste, you feel and see people rotting from the head? Every time they open their mouths, it's pure lies and deceit, tricks and con games, one after the other. From the beginning of the oil production, Uncle, we have been trying to get a simple question answered by President Ali, and more so, Vice President Jagdeo, who heading the oil sector, about what is the interest rate Exxon charging us for the money them invest out there. The reason for that, Uncle, is because that is one of the biggest thieves. That is one of the biggest con game that can happen to a country in a partnership business. Auntie, them can thief 3/4 of your oil. Yes, your oil money on that alone. And to this day, President Ali has not given an answer to that question. And when the same question is put to the oil seller of Guyana, Barra Jagdeo, he finds every rock to go and hide under. At his last press conference, Thursday gone, my reporter put back this simple, straightforward question to him again and asked him, "Sir, what is the interest rate that Guyana paying Exxon for the money they invest out there?" Uncle and Auntie, please hear how this man danced and wiggled himself and still did not answer that simple, straightforward question. Joshua, play it for them, please.
The thing is that the financing, so a project could be financed from equity or loans. It could be financed from equity and or loans. So if you make a loan to the company, the local company, then you have to get a return in the form of interest payment at a particular rate. If you make an equity injection, you get a return on your equity. So that is it. Regardless of whether you make the financing in a form of a loan or equity, you have to get a return. There's a cost of capital, and that is how it is. Generally, we had this issue when we were developing the hydro with Blackstone, where they wanted to do a 20% rate of return on equity, but we could have borrowed at maybe 8-9%. So it was in our interest that we co-invest in the equity. That's how we were using the funds we have at the IDB, 100 million, 80 something million now, 85 million, to invest in equity so that we can have more loans and they have less equity, because equity was remunerated at a higher rate. So that's what you need to explore when you analyze their data. And this is the question you should put to them. I don't want to be answering every time for Exxon too. You have to answer that. Get a clear answer from them. Then you can get a response from me. Seek a clear answer from them.
Is there a standard rate that you're paying?
No, because we are not paying anything. The government of Guyana is not paying anything. So because they have to raise the financing using the best efforts, the cheapest cost of financing. That is what they're supposed to do as a company, right? So this is what can be analyzed even when you look at the revenue bank, the cost bank. So let's move on. Yes. Anything else? Thank you very much.
Oh, uncle. He dance and he wiggle. Dance and wiggle from a simple, straightforward question. What is the interest rate Guyana paying? This man is running our US oil, $1 trillion oil sector, and telling my reporter she should put that question to Exxon to get a clear answer from them first. And then she will get a response from he. How you like that, Josh? He doesn't know, or he doesn't want to tell us. We must ask Exxon first to hear what answer them give before he come up with his twisted tongue, like he always does. Then he went on and tried to confuse the reporter with a jiggery-puggery story by saying, we're not paying anything. The government and Guyana not paying anything. Exxon have to raise the financing. The cheapest cost of financing they're supposed to do as a company. And as company always do. Gosh. Oh my gosh. So Mr. Jagdeo, if the government and Guyana not paying for that cheap financing, then who paying, Mr. Jagdeo? You or the politicians paying? Uncle, every time Jagdeo opens his mouth, the rope tightens around his neck as to what he's doing to this country and all of us. Then he went on to confuse and mix up his own self by telling us that investors must get a rate of return, an interest rate on the money them invest. In one breath, he says the government nor Guyana not paying anything. Then in the other breath, he said the people must get interest for the money them invest. Is what really this man saying there, Joshua? You guys don't want me to play him back. I think he was too clear in what he was saying there. And the question was never answered, Uncle. Josh, you want to play back that tape so y'all can remember how clearly he thinks he can dance around them question, man? Huh? Listen to him carefully, Uncle. At the end, how quick he said, anything else? Okay, thank you. He didn't want that girl to follow up on that question. So he ended the press conference. Please listen to him. Play him back, man.
The thing is that the financing, so a project could be financed from equity or loans. It could be financed from equity and or loans. So if you make a loan to the company, the local company, then you have to get a return in the form of a interest payment at a particular rate. If you make an equity injection, you get a return on your equity. So that is it. Regardless of whether you make the financing in a form of a loan or equity, you have to get a return. There's a cost of capital, and that is how it is. Generally, we had this issue when we were developing the hydro with Blackstone, where they wanted to do a 20% rate of return on equity, but we could have borrowed at maybe 8-9%. So it was in our interest that we co-invest in the equity. That's how we were using the funds we have at the IDB, 100 million, 80 something million now, 85 million, to invest in equity so that we can have more loans and they have less equity, because equity was remunerated at a higher rate. So that's what you need to explore when you analyze their data. And this is the question you should put to them. I don't want to be answering every time for Exxon too. You have to answer that. Get a clear answer from them. Then you can get a response from me. Seek a clear answer from them.
Is there a standard rate that you're paying?
No, because we are not paying anything. The government of Guyana is not paying anything. So because they have to raise the financing using the best efforts, the cheapest cost of financing. That is what they're supposed to do as a company, right? So this is what can be analyzed even when you look at the revenue bank, the cost bank. So let's go. Let's move on. Yes. Anything else? Thank you very much.
Yeah, let's move on. Anything else? Thank you. Let's move on. Let's go. Uncle, just before I walk in this radio station, I was glancing at the Chronicle and the Guyana Times newspaper. Yesterday, Sunday, Jagdeo tell Region 3, we will do bigger and better in 2025. When I see that, I remember my slogan. They're going to skin all of you alive before 2025. Gosh. Whew. Ask him back, Uncle, that same question at another press conference. Or President Ali. And President Ali will say, Jagdeo don't talk about that. And when you ask Jagdeo, he will say, how much time you all asking me the same question? Uncle, that question is huffing out more than 5 times of what Guyana receiving a year in royalties and profits. And none of them answering that question. Don't ask about the opposition. They're neither dumb or handicapped on matters like these. I just be begging you to please, whenever you see these people, shout at them and ask them these questions. Or if you're not bold like Lall as yet, and his team, quietly ask them these questions and tape them, please. Tape them. Ask them what is the interest rate are we paying Exxon on that investment out there, please. Please, uncle. Please, auntie. Or are you like throw mal around the necks? Continue doing that. Exxon tying rope around your neck and tightening it each passing day. Are you continue? I remember Bobishan asked President Ali 2 years ago that same question on interest rate. He told the man, oh, you're listening to Lall show. We have answers. We have all the answers for his questions. And now, he and Kaieteur, the oil king, you hear him just now, how he danced in and wiggling himself from that question. Let me go back this thing again with your uncle. If we pay 10% interest rate on that 50 billion investment out there, is 5 billion US dollar in interest alone every year Exxon getting, and Guyana just getting over 1 billion a year. And Kaieteur running around like a yo-yo or a seesaw, doing everything to avoid answering that question. He said the investors must get a rate, must get a return on their investment. Well, we understand that, Mr. Kaieteur. We agree with that too, Mr. Kaieteur. But the question here is what rate Guyana is paying. 10%, 20%, 30%. Let the Guyanese people know what Exxon is taking out from our oil. Why my reporter have to go to Exxon to ask them that question, then come to you for an answer? What are you really telling this nation, Kaieteur? Huh? Uncle, which donkey buying a house with a loan from a con man and telling his family, yeah, I'll go and ask the con man how much he charging we, and then come back to he. You know, see, he's part of the gangsterism that is going on there, uncle. We asked him more than 10 times about the real owners that collected money for the Kaieteur and Kanji oil blocks. At one press conference, he said, wait, that report not make public yet? No, Mr. Kaieteur. No. This nation still awaits to know when you're going to make it, when you're going to put it out, so that we can see who really collected the billions from them 2 oil blocks. We still waiting. Look, today, uncle, today, we reported in the Kaieteur news, the new oil law President Ali and Kaieteur going to put in place does not have any requirement for the government to tell the Guyanese people who them give or who them sell the new oil blocks to. Them can do what they want with it. And the opposition, as usual, will remain silent. You know, there's a song I always like and remember. Do what you want. Do what you want with me. The song says if it ain't strong enough, I can tell you. If it ain't long enough, I can tell you. I wanted to play the song for you. But, no. Do what you want, honey. Do what you want with me. If it ain't strong enough, I can tell you. If it ain't long enough, I can tell you. If it ain't tough enough, I can tell you. If you ain't man enough, I can tell you. Do what you want. Do what you want with me. That is what Jack Dale them doing to all of you. And none of you telling them, yes, them is not man enough. Joshua, you got a song, right?
Yeah.
No, man, don't play it. Don't give them. That is the opposition we have. And some of you are just like them. When they ask you to jump, you ask them how high. And how we going to walk punchy. Sickening. It is really sickening what's happening in this country. People just allowing themselves to be ruled over by these crooks, these scamps, these hooligans. You got presenting themselves as leaders. Leaders of what? Thank you, Miss Mortley. You know, from the time, Josh, from the time I start this program, like my mouth does get dry. You know, just to talk about these people. You know, it's like a sick you pick up with them. Imagine if I got to stand with them or be around them. Thank you. It's the same scampishness with the PPP government. Them run as soon as they go back in office and put a law. Put a law for the little crumbs we getting from the oil that sits in the overseas bank account, uncle. The law them pass target and ready to jail people who expose skullduggery with the oil money. But it does not talk about jailing the leaders if and when them thief it or misuse it. Are you help me for understand what is going on in this country? Please. And the opposition is still in a coma. Whenever them open them eyes, they don't know. They don't know where they are. And if they do whisper, uncle, them say, is where them there? In front G come, we can walk punch it. Joshua,
Yes, sir.
you really think these people love me, right? I think so, you know. I think the opposition and the government love Lall. And more so the oil companies. I love all of them too. You know, Josh, I told the audience last week, Friday night, it's very hard and difficult to keep up and report on all the madness that's going on in this country on a daily basis. From the time, uncle, I put my mind on something serious to talk about, 10 more pop up. So I have to sift out what I bring to you on this program every Monday, Wednesdays, and Friday, just like hours before. Oh, uncle, there are hundreds of important issues and developments that I just can't talk about. It's too much. The whole country is being sold piece by piece, by the minute, back to the slave masters. We are actually living in slavery. Right back where our parents, I should say our foreparents were. And our leaders today are joining hands with the enslavers and proudly calling it, yes, sanctity of contract. Even our parliament, uncle, our president are helpless, hapless and hopeless, and even impotent. They can't stand up to the enslavers. Now tell me, is this not slavery all over again? Not one politician from the time Trotman signed that contract in 2016 has stepped up to confront and untie the knot of that enslaving contract. Not one of them. Not one of them, uncle. But I got news for y'all tonight. I have good news for you tonight, uncle. You got to hear this carefully. I always know pressure has burst pipe. Pressure has burst blood vessels. Pressure has toppled empires and changed history. Pressure, uncle. Yes. Pressure, auntie, does even help people to sanitize their conscience. 2 weeks ago, on this program, I kept on urging you to come alive before 2025. Otherwise, they will skin you alive one by one. I am extremely proud. I am extremely happy to report tonight that at least one man has heard me and responded. His name is Raphael Trotman, the man who signed that Exxon Guyana contract. Yes, the man who signed the contract that tie up all of us like an iguana. He has finally stepped forward, breaking his silence after 7 years. And like I said, uncle, I am extremely happy that finally our Creator has touched his soul and awoken him. Uncle, he is now telling the nation that the world, yes, he's telling the nation and the whole world in a book that he has written and released 2 weeks ago, that the oil contract he signed can be renegotiated. You didn't hear what I said there just now. I will repeat it. Trotman said in a book he just released 2 weeks ago that the contract he signed can be renegotiated. You see why I told you on Friday this program cannot be predicted? I never knew that tonight I would have been sitting here talking about Raphael Trotman, the man who signed the contract, and this unbelievable statement from him that the contract he signed can be renegotiated. I want to remind all of you, Raphael Trotman was the Minister of Natural Resources. He is a lawyer by profession and a trained negotiator of contracts from the most recognized university in the world, Harvard. And we still end up with the most one-sided, lopsided, no-sided oil contract in the history of mankind. Don't ask me how. I don't have that answer. What I know, uncle, is that it took him 7 years, 7 long years, to fight with his conscience before he broke his silence and revealed that this contract he signed can be renegotiated. Every day, every month, every year that he kept quiet, he encouraged and caused grave damages to this country and all of us. Now, uncle, let me present to you very nicely what Raphael Trotman said in his own words. You have it there. Please put up his book with the title of his book and his words. Let the people read it for themselves. I will read it to my radio programs. Uncle, in his own words, he said, the demand for renegotiation of the Exxon contract continues unabated. And my own view is that no contract is inviolable. Meaning, uncle, any contract can break. And therefore, it can be renegotiated. He went on to say, undoubtedly, if Guyana, as a sovereign state, wishes to renegotiate the contract to get better terms, then I would support such an initiative. You hear that, Josh? His own words, uncle, not mine.
It's on the screen.
It's on the screen, guys. Read it for yourself. Auntie, why is Trotman now coming out to tell this nation, if the leaders of this country want to renegotiate the contract, he is willing to support that? Where was his voice or his pen from day one when Kaieteur News began exposing the one-sided nature of this contract and calling for it to be renegotiated? Uncle, where was his pen and his voice? And we are still calling for a change to this lopsided contract he signed on to this day. Where was he, uncle, when Guyana desperately needed his voice or his pen? May I ask? Then, uncle, he accused me in his book. Yes, me, Lall, in his book, saying he spoke to me about pushing for an investigation so the country would know why and what led him to sign the contract. And I did not heed his call. How do you like that?
Wow. I gotta read that book.
Mr. Trotman, Lall and his media house, along with this nation, don't want to hear about an investigation of who did this or who did that. That's gone. Long gone. 7 years now. The people of this country want to hear about renegotiation of the contract. And they want to hear it from the time you sign it, Mr. Trotman. This media house that I lead has been exposing all the ills and wrongs you and your party did with our contract, and has been pushing from the very day that contract became public for a renegotiation. Where was your mouth? Or where was your pen from then to now? We didn't hear you. Or didn't hear from you. Why, Trotman? Guyana doesn't want an investigation, Trotman. This nation wants renegotiation. Investigation, not going to put food on the tables of the citizens. Renegotiation will, brother. Renegotiating this contract will make the Guyanese people breathe. Renegotiation of this contract will have people eat to live, rather than having our brothers and sisters living to eat whatever is thrown at them with that contract you sign. Don't you agree with me, Mr. Trotman? You said on more than one occasion, you were instructed and directed to sign that contract. And we would have reported that many times. But let me ask this. How can you, as a trained lawyer and a qualified negotiator of contracts, and our natural resources minister at the time, affix your signature to such a contract that would tie, that binds this present and future generations to extreme poverty, man? Huh? This nation would love to hear why you did something like this. Are you willing to come on this program with me? Or are you willing to sit with my reporters to tell the whole world who instructed and directed you to sign that contract? Now that you're sharing this new position you have, you can. I am just a phone call away. My number is still the same. You can call me anytime. This whole country deserves to know. And the best person to tell them is you, Raphael. We don't need an investigation. We need you to speak. And you're competent enough to do that. President Ali, Vice President Jagdev, and your own people in the opposition have thrown you under the bus. Using sanctity of contract, you bind this nation to. Isn't it time you clear the air? Isn't it time you respond as forcefully as you can? To eradicate, to stop the crap the nation is saying about you? You have seen the opposition leader, when the word renegotiation is put on the table, how he turns into a shadow. Why didn't you tell him about renegotiation and how the contract can be changed? You should have told him that. Why are you waiting till now to write book? Jagdev and President Ali, both of them are continuously lashing out at you, saying you put Guyana where it is today with that contract you signed. Again, man, isn't it time you come out and speak to this nation, seeing that you're capable of putting up a good defense, not only for yourself, but for the country, so that we all can have this contract cancelled and corrected? Isn't it time that you educate the president and the vice president along with the opposition leaders about the power and authority a sovereign country has? Like you said in your book. You should. You should. Since when a contract is bigger than a sovereign country? Since when a contract can supersede Parliament and the laws of Guyana? Since when a contract can reduce the president of a country to a puppet and do the same to the vice president and the opposition leaders? Since when, man? You have crippled, no doubt about that, this country with a contract. Don't you think it is time for you to go an extra mile and show we, yes, and show we how we can fix and correct the flaws and the crime of that contract, brother? I think so. I honestly think so. This nation is starving. This nation is seeing darkness in every hole Exxon bore. They are seeing oil. Yes. Exxon seeing oil in every hole they bore. While we seeing darkness. Our lifeblood is draining away by the minute in every barrel, on every project out there. Isn't it time that all of this come to a full stop, an end, so that this nation can breathe and start living again, Mr. Trotman? I think so. Uncle, there is nobody more than Trotman who knows the horrors and dangers of this contract and where it will lead Guyana and future generations. So he owes us all to come out and help fix and correct it. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt that he was instructed and directed to sign that contract, which he did, and now he regrets. He should now take the next step, because he has the most, or I should say he has most of the answers how to go about fixing and correcting it with his skill sets. He received from Harvard. Look, I have been playing my role, Trotman. The team at Kaieteur News have been playing their part. Now, what about you, uncle and auntie? Isn't it time you confront your leaders about this evil that hangs over our heads, to live a comfortable life and prepare a stable future for your offsprings, man? Huh? Or you all gonna wait to live on handouts and a once-a-year bonus that is being thrown at y'all? And throw them all around them leaders, them misfits leaders I have, round the neck. At least, uncle, we now know where Trotman stands today. He's ready to support renegotiation of the contract he signed. The President, the Vice President and Norton have to come out now and tell us where they stand on this matter. Non-Guyanese, no one of you should sit on your hands one more day without getting an answer from these people. You have to, uncle. If you love your children and grandchildren, stand up, please, and safeguard their future. Forget about you. Do it for your children, uncle. And Trotman is now saying clearly, he is willing to lead the way, utilizing, like I said, his negotiating skills and what he learned from the mistakes he and his party made when signing that contract. Joshua, I want to personally offer Trotman my full support, although he kept silent for 7 years. What about you, Joshua? Thank you. Uncle and auntie, whether it was a mistake or not, whether corruption happened or not with a contract, Guyana finds itself in a bind where generations to come will suffer. I am willing as a media house owner and a commentator to let bygones be bygones. Let us throw our support behind the man who signed the contract and all the people who are clamoring and calling for renegotiation of this contract. Please. I know that Trotman was not sleeping well. I know that Trotman is not happy or not a happy man. I know that Trotman finds himself in a bind with his signature on that contract that forced him to write that book. Maybe all of this has led to his illness. The good doctors would normally say, if the mind is sick, so is the soul and the body. Trotman must have been suffering quietly, and today he has reached a breaking point that led him to write that book. We should all wish him a speedy recovery so that he can join us in this fight. Yes, this fight for a better deal. I also believe that Trotman's boss at the time of signing that horrible contract, former President David Granger, is not happy. And he is also having sleepless nights. He too must do like Trotman and throw his weight behind the call for renegotiation. The doors of this media house are open 24 hours for him too. So guys, I am waiting. We are waiting. Uncle, that contract has also made me unhappy. I am not ashamed to say it. It gives me sleepless nights too, Trotman. And I am sure it is also giving many Guyanese sleepless nights on a hungry stomach. But together, all of us can and must change it. Let me end tonight's program by saying this. Let's all wait, watch, and see the next move by the PPP, the PNC, and the AFC as to where they want to go with this new development coming from the pen of the man Raphael Trotman, who signed Guyana's oil contract. And then, only then, Uncle and Auntie, all of us will know who are the traitors. Who are the traitors and the demons among us. Now you will know. Now you will see if your leaders love you. You, the Guyanese people, or love ExxonMobil and the oil companies more than you. Let's wait and see what they will do. I always remember Barack Obama's slogan, can we do it? Yes, we can. You better get alive before 2025. Every day I look out my office glass. I am seeing the size of pipeline Exxon bringing in this country. Man, the pipe is getting bigger daily. It's not 1 foot anymore. is now 2 and 3 feet pipe. They're fetching on the road. Before you wake up in the morning with today's technology, clap of your hands, uncle. Clap of your hands. There is going to be nothing for you if this contract doesn't change, and change quickly. It used to be 10 and 20 pipe on one truck. Now, if you get a chance to look at it, it's only one on a truck. Oh. I have this tape for you to listen. It was sent to me just before I come on this radio program. And you see how God would have it?
Yes.
You know, when I opened this tape, I had to smile and say, thank you, God. Play it for them, man.
We have learned from the World Bank and the IMF that 2% royalty together with 50% profit share in oil is on par with a majority of the countries that have found oil. It is almost 60% government take when you add withholding taxes, which we have now added via the arrangement with ExxonMobil, and a signature bonus of $18 million US, along with other benefits. We also feel that we need the production of oil so that we can get funding for all that I just mentioned. Infrastructural works, the bridge across Demerara that is going to be on pillars like what you have in Canada. Broad asphaltic roads all across Guyana to connect all the various communities. And to also avoid the congestion that we have with the bringing in of over 10,000 cars every year since 2015. We need also the expansion of lands for agricultural produce. And we are right now designing the expansion of the MMA Phase 2 and Phase 3 scheme. That's wonderful news to our rice farmers. We want also to go to the backlands of Blackbush Polder and do an expansion there. But all of this will require money. And we were envisioning this since 2016 when we signed on that agreement, knowing very well that by 2020 we would get the oil to expand all those schemes for the benefit of our farmers, especially in Region 5 and Region 6. Those who are now criticizing that deal are rather ill-advised and ill-informed completely.
That was Kemraj Ramjatan. Oh, buddy. You see why you have to love today's technology, uncle? Yesterday, they were good. Yes, they were good at bluffing and fluffing. Sell your dreams that don't exist. That will never become a reality. Just to get in office. Yes. To put schemes in place. I wonder what he will say now about Trotman's revelation. Uncle, Ramjatan learned from the IMF and the World Bank. Two biggest scams this world produce is the World Bank and IMF. That 2% royalty and 50% profit share. What Guyana settled for is on par with many countries that find oil. Ramjatan should ask the World Bank and the IMF, or he as a lawyer, trained lawyer too, should Google and find which country has any contract that looks like Guyana one, he should do that. I'll probably give him $10 million if he can find one. Because I asked ExxonMobil King, what I got here in Guyana Routledge, to name me one. And he dung his head and turn his face for me. This man tell me, oh, the World Bank and IMF, yes, says we have the best deal. Two crooks, uncle. He said, I also feel they need oil production so that they can get money to do infrastructural works. The new Demerara Harbour Bridge that is going to be on pillars, just like Canada. Broad asphaltic roads right across Guyana to connect all communities, bringing in 10,000 cars a year since 2015. This leader had good. Are you sure this man wasn't drunk when he was talking? They were envisioning this since they signed on to that contract in 2016, knowing very well they will get the oil to expand all those schemes. You sure is the right scheme this man talking about? Or he talking about another scheme? I'm just asking. Those who are criticizing those who are criticizing that deal are rather ill-advised and ill-informed completely. I say no more, uncle. Namaste.
We have learned from the World Bank and the IMF that 2% royalty together with 50% profit share in oil is on par with a majority of the countries that have found oil. It is almost 60% government take when you add withholding taxes, which we have now added via the arrangement with ExxonMobil, and a signature bonus of $18 million US, along with other benefits. We also feel that we need the production of oil so that we can get funding for all that I just mentioned. Infrastructural works, the bridge across Demerara that is going to be on pillars like what you have in Canada. Broad asphaltic roads all across Guyana to connect all the various communities. And to also avoid the congestion that we have with the bringing in of over 10,000 cars every year since 2015. We need also the expansion of lands for agricultural produce. And we are right now designing the expansion of the MMA Phase 2 and Phase 3 scheme. That's wonderful news to our rice farmers. We want also to go to the backlands of Blackbush Polder and do an expansion there. But all of this will require money. And we were envisioning this since 2016 when we signed on that agreement, knowing very well that by 2020 we would get the oil to expand all those schemes for the benefit of our farmers, especially in Region 5 and Region 6. Those who are now criticizing that deal are rather ill-advised and ill-informed completely.